All right, Chris, man, I appreciate you jumping on, bro. It is 4:45 a.m. for me here in Dubai. I know that you are with the family the last few days because you guys are getting ready to just put in those 20-hour days with the tech project that you're developing. So you're traveling right now. I think you said you're in Hershey, Pennsylvania, heading to Tennessee tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're doing a global Zoom, and I'm maybe like 20 minutes from Amish country where they don't even have running water still, and there's horse and buggies going by here. It's pretty rad.
I love it, and I'm out here in Dubai right now. So, man, what a
little different between Dubai and Amish country. It's the juxtaposition that we live in today. So, but it's awesome.
Well, bro, we're just so pumped, man. You know the DAISY story, and we're just honored. You and I have now met together multiple times. And I fell in love with your project, your vision, the team that you put together, some of the acquisitions that you guys have now done with other companies and technologies for your platform. And we've shared with our community many times that this DCO platform, this launch pad that we're creating, really we're focusing on attracting projects that have the capacity to become multi-billion-dollar projects, that we really can get in front of major market moves, bringing real value to the marketplace. And when you shared with me, so went all the way back to the privacy side of the phone, and then the conversation went so much deeper into this idea of an operating system that was blockchain based. And then you told me about your relationship and partnerships with Cardano. And then really what flipped the switch for me was this idea of a decentralized app environment that is all blockchain based, and where early crowd participating members can have rewards from that, can have equity in that side of things. That the phone is one thing, that's a power play all in of itself, but the operating system and this idea of a decentralized app store, and then a mobile phone that actually mines revenue and taps into DeFi algorithms and all of the things that you shared. So, bro, I'm gonna throw it to you because I'm just giving everybody a quick snapshot of our conversations for the last few months. But, bro, this project is one of the most exciting projects that we're pumped to get behind with the DAISY community. And I just thought it'd be incredible to take a few minutes, let you share the vision of what you're bringing to the table, and give everybody a sneak peek into what you've put together.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to be here. Your community and the results that I have watched you guys get or heard about,
through the relationships that we share, it just speaks for itself. So, we're very excited. And man, it's like, how do you keep something so complex so simple? I think the important thing is that there's something that all of us, and when I say all of us, I mean maybe not everybody in this community, because they're forward thinking. A lot of the people on this are here because they are paying attention. They are like in the weeds. They're first movers on crypto, the first movers on decentralized systems. So we take for granted sometimes, kind of like that we know more than we think sometimes, right? And then the further down the rabbit hole you get, you realize you don't know anything, because every time you learn something new, there's like 10 more things to unpack. But I say that because let's just not take us for a minute. Let's just take human beings to a person. Like, I'm sitting in Amish country where a lot of people still don't have a mobile phone. They're probably the last sector of humanity that doesn't have a mobile phone, but everybody else has one. So we just take everybody that has a mobile phone for a minute. I think there's something that we all have just recently, shared, which is this, we call it like an anxiety, or there's just this like weird feeling, right? That it's somewhere along the line, without intending it, our technology kind of took us over.
Yeah.
And, when we talk about a lot of the different utilities, whether it be privacy, security, whether it be talking about play to earn opportunities, or, any use case that matters that our ecosystem will enable, at the core, what we're trying to provide human beings again is just a sense of calm, like the freedom to choose. Because right now, most of us, if we're really honest with ourselves, and if we really think about it for even 2 seconds, we don't have the freedom to choose. Our technology chooses for us.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about where it takes us or what, what it pops up in the algorithm when we search. I'm talking about what it does to us, what it does to our data, what it does to our most precious assets, what it does to our photo collections. And it doesn't ask.
Yeah, it doesn't ask. It's probably the most, we submit to the centralization that comes through the mobile phone platform. It's one of the most centralized environments, and it's probably the one that consumes most of our life, and yet we don't even pay attention to it. And it's the truth. It's the most centralized component of our daily life that, quite frankly, if you can decentralize that, it's a game changer.
Well, and here's how I explain it to everybody very simply. I go, a lot of people are fans of Elon Musk, right? I'm a fan of Elon Musk. Some people aren't, some people are. But the reality is regardless where you land on that, dude is smart, right?
Yeah.
And he's probably not from this country. I joke all the time. I don't think he's doing anything other than trying to get home, and Mars is just a gas stop, right? I don't think he's from here. But if you think about Elon, right, and you go, okay, well, his, one of his projects is called Neuralink. A lot of people have probably read about it, right? Which is the chip that they're putting in pigs' brains, things like that right now. And it's called Neuralink. Essentially, it's the chip inside your head, right? Now, if I ask most people on this, are you ready to get that chip? Especially like a lot of the people that might be libertarian or freedom focused or whatever, they're going, hell no, I'm not getting that chip.
Right.
And maybe they can't explain why, but if they really thought about it, the main reason why is because they know that they don't control that chip. They know that some company, whether it's Elon's or not, so no matter how much you want to love a guy, the fact is they know that they don't control the encryption or the data on that chip, that it's controlled by some big tech company they don't fully understand. So if it goes in their skin, they start to panic.
Right.
But then I remind them that you already have that chip. It's just not under your skin.
Wow.
Because think about it for a minute. Do you ever leave home without this?
Never.
No, never. If you do, right, if you do leave home without it, you panic and get to a cold sweat. Now, I'm not sitting here talking about phones. What I'm talking about is 5-10 years from now, phones won't even be here. Who knows what the form factor may be? It'll probably be voice. Right? And we'll just speak things like Uber, and then all the facial recognition cameras around the world, around wherever we are, which are everywhere, will map our face. It'll know we want to ride, and a car will show up, and we'll get in. And then we'll smile to pay. They're already doing smile to pay in China as of 5 years ago. We'll blink or smile to pay, and we'll get out. And when 5G comes, that'll be enabled. So my question to you is this: if you wouldn't put a chip in your head today or tomorrow without controlling the encryption and the data, why are you walking around with stuff that you don't control today? Well, here's the answer: because you don't have an option. Now, if you had an option, would you take it? And I think the answer is overwhelmingly yes. But you're not taking it, in our opinion, just because it's a device. You have to go to the gateway entry point that is there. I don't have to explain to somebody what a phone is. I do have to explain what an operating system is. So if I only have 2 seconds, right? Like, I can't just go, hey, we need a whole new operating system for peer-to-peer economies and a whole new set of the world where users are in control of their data. And like, if I go there, they're like, they tune out.
Yes.
If I say, what if there was a phone that the only person listening to was the one on the other line? Then they can kind of compute that, right? If I say, do you own your devices or do they own you?
Right.
People can go, oh my God, I don't own my device. I bought it. I paid for it. It's a metal box that I think is mine, but that's only worth $500 on eBay if I resell it. Apple's a $1 trillion company. Amazon's a $1 trillion company. Facebook just hit a $1 trillion company. The 5 biggest companies in the planet today are $1 trillion companies, and every single one of them is the 5 tech companies that you know and love and that you use every day. 20 years ago, they were oil companies. Data's the new oil. And the difference between then and now is we have, for the last 15 years, not knowing it, we took free because free felt good. Free was great. Free email, free this, free cloud, free that, free pictures, free drive. And we thought it was free. Yeah. And we didn't think anything of what we're paying for because, like, we're not doing anything secret or private. Like, we don't have anything to hide. And that's all true. Most people don't. But we took it for free and we paid with convenience. We paid for convenience with our data. And ultimately what that's done is we've paid with our identity. Because Google, Amazon, Alexa, you name the big tech company, they know more about you and your habits than even you do, or your wife or your husband or your significant other or your partner. They know your deepest darkest secrets. They start to pre-populate what you're going to say. even though you didn't have the phone on searching for it. The other day, I got in with our CMO, Jeffrey. We got into his car, and we had never been to the place. We're going to a meeting here with one of our distributors out here. And he literally started to say 11 to his GPS, and his iPhone was plugged into the GPS in his Volvo. So he goes 11, and I'm reading him the rest of the road, and it brought the road up without us ever having been there or be there, right? Wow. Now, this has happened to most people.
Yep.
And so when I say there's anxiety, people go, why is that happening? And when did I opt into that? And then how do I opt out if I want? What if my kids are doing that? And so this uncertainty that we have is really palpable today. And I think timing is everything. And, you know, we have a lot to tackle, but we're starting where we can. And like I said, this is an operating system and an ecosystem of developers and apps, and just a whole new way of putting peer-to-peer economies to work. Bands and fans, brands and fans, you know, networkers and their communities, like you name it.
Yeah.
We all communicate, and none of us control that situation right now. And it wouldn't be that hard for us to do that if someone would just solve it. So we decided to solve it.
Yeah. Well, and it's incredible too, because, you know, you mentioned those 5 empire companies that the new oil is data, and they become the wealthiest companies in the world. They've never offered to share that wealth with you and I. They never said, hey, if you become radical about our brand, if you engage in our app stores, if you play our games, if you, whatever it is, we're gonna create wealth and we're gonna share it with you. That's never been offered. And so that was the other thing.
And I mean, and that's what's so funny, right? Is like it's so obvious to me anyway, and I think to you, like, it's so obvious. Like, what if they had, like, what if now so just to be clear, what I have a big problem with is a business model that puts humanity on an existential path that ends up no bueno, right? Which, you know, there's an existential threat, meaning our very existence, and it's not just nuclear war anymore, right? We now live in a world where a cyber attack could do far more damage than a nuclear bomb.
Right.
And so that's where we are today. And if you understand exponential law at all, right, it's kind of like, you know, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. And a human goes, well, that's interesting. I can keep up for a while, but then we can't keep up anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You know, there's a thing called the 29th point, and it's years ago in the NBA. But if you average 29 points versus 28, you made $4 million more than the person who averaged 28. There becomes a point where late in the game, 29th day, 30th day, right, the exponential vertical goes high, and that's where all the rewards are. And we're at that step in the tech world right now, with AI, with algorithms, with everything. And what we don't understand is today's baseline. Like, if you think 10 years ago, think about your life 10 years ago and how little it has to do with how your life is today. Most people 10 years ago didn't look at a phone every 5 seconds. And that's the average today, right? Doesn't matter the reason why. Doesn't matter the reason why. You just didn't do it. Most people didn't have a lot of the convenience they had or the things that they do 10 years ago. And so when you think about, well, what happens 10 years from now? You can't think about it like 10 years ago. You think about 10 years from now means today is my new zero. And like now, next, like I'm going to go double from today till next year. Then I'm going to double that. And when you start doing that math, 10 years from now, we can't even imagine what the world's going to look like. And so those companies that you mentioned, I don't have a beef with those companies. And I'm not saying I don't have beefs with some of them. I'm saying that's not the point. The point is their business model is what's broken. Their business model is what's out of date. And the reason being is that we have unlimited wealth. We have all-time highs in real estate, stock markets, all this stuff again. And yet most people are broker than ever.
Yeah.
Right. And jobs aren't coming back anytime soon. And wages are down. And populism is growing all over the world, whether it's in this country or others, right? Because of that very fact. And so it hasn't been evenly distributed. And this is not about socialism. This is about saying in a capitalism world or in a meritocracy, if I put 2 in, I should get something out that's better than the person who put 1 in or half in or none in, right? Yeah. And if one guy puts 3 in and gets all the rewards, then that's not really a fair game. And so those companies we mentioned, they don't have a reason to change their business model, which is why they're going to get disrupted. Because at $1 billion valuations and all-time highs in the stock market and loyal fans running around buying iPhones left and right, there's no reason for them to value giving you your data. There's no shift that's going to happen faster than a peer-to-peer market. So Epic Games suing them for, hey, we don't want to pay 30% because we're a free game and we have 350 million daily users on Fortnite and your ecosystem, and we don't want them having to pay 30% to you. We would like to do that and have to go to a lawsuit over it. That's a signal, right? What happens when an operating system comes in and an ecosystem comes in and says, hey, Fortnite users, not only are you not paying 30%, but every time someone buys something, if you brought them to the ecosystem, you're getting a vig on that.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, what would happen then?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right? So I think we're going to BlackBerry them. I really do.
No, it is. It's destructive because it's taking. Right now, we are the asset. Our data is the asset for the empires. Our phone and usage of that phone, we are the asset. The world, the people, it's the asset. And the disruption is to say, hey, let's make it an asset that you own. Let's make it an asset. Let's make your mobile phone an asset for you and your family. Let's make it a financial asset. Let's make it a security asset. Let's make your life better, safer, and let's put some more money in your pocket because right now you are the asset. Your data is the asset. So why not put that asset back into the hands of the people? And that's freaking disruptive, bro.
Not only is it disruptive, it's sustainable. And that's more important, right? Yeah. Disruption is one thing. It's sustainable because what you just said is the key. So the last bill that I know most people will turn off, whether they lose their house, their car, their whatever, the last bill they're going to turn off is currently, could change, but currently, whatever their smartphone situation is, right? That's the last bill that's turning off.
100%.
And regardless of how much or little they have. And what if it didn't even have to be a bill at all? And I'm not talking about because you're like selling and doing a bunch of extroverted type stuff. I'm talking about if the thing is connecting, if this is dark right now, dark, it's not even on, right? And right now it is listening to me. It is probably, if I, have any malware on it at all, which I don't know, is looking at me and recording my visual. It's definitely knows it's sitting still. It knows where it's sitting still, and it's computing all that metadata back to a centralized server at Android and Google, right? Or at iPhone. And so in real time, when I start driving and it's telling me where to go, it says you're going 68, 69, 71, 72, and it tells you right next to it. It's tracking your speed. It's feeding that data everywhere. So it's valuable information for an insurance company, for whoever wants that information. And it's my information. It doesn't matter whether I speed or not. It's the fact that it's collecting that data, and that data is valuable to someone, and I'm not participating.
That's
when
right.
You take that out of scale, 7.8 billion people, right? There's more mobile devices connected, and there's going to be over 1 trillion IoT connected devices, smart fridges, smartphones, sensors in your sprinkler system, everywhere, right? There's going to be more than 1 trillion connected devices that are smart, learning from each other, giving feedback from each other, learning from ourselves by 2025. So this is not going to slow down. It's only going to speed up. And yet we're the genesis of that data in a lot of cases. And yet we have all these people who got to figure out how to get connected. There's 4 billion people on the planet that aren't even connected yet to the internet, that companies like World Mobile, who we're partnering with, and some things like that are working on. And there's other things. There's 2.5 billion unbanked, which I know you guys know a lot about, right? And there's all these people that can't even get a bank account because they can't get verified identity. They can't get fiat in a situation that isn't super hyperinflated or worthless. And all these solutions, crypto, whatever. So why we partner with Cardano? Because you brought that up.
Yes.
And we're agnostic in some ways. So our operating system is going to be multiple chain compliant. It'll have, depending on what the situation is, but where we partnered with Cardano was specific around 2 key areas. One was around where we're going to store the metadata around your decentralized identity. And the reason why we did that is because they spent 6.5 years doing 95 and counting peer-reviewed research papers on their cryptography, the security of it, the speed, all that stuff, before they started building anything. And then they started building stuff 4 years ago. So about 4 years into that, they started building stuff. So they figured out how to build it right before they started writing code.
Yeah.
And that matters when you're talking about things like principal authority, which is when you and I are the ultimate owner of our domain, our dominion in a digital physical world. when we own our identity and we have principal authority over where that's delegated or not, right? And so you don't want that sitting on something that isn't secure, that could go away, or that that might not be decentralized fully. So Cardano checked the box on that. The other thing they had, as many people know, on March 1st, I think it was, or March 31st, I can't remember which date, but on one of those dates, the Mary Hard fork completed and metadata became the first multi-asset ledger, which means, for those who know crypto, that not only ADA is treated like a first-class citizen on their blockchain, but any token that's minted, including a decentralized identity for a piece of equipment or for a human, is treated like a first-class citizen, meaning no gas fees, like far more efficient, right? So that was a huge piece. We didn't have the time or energy or desire to go build a $50 billion blockchain. We're not going to go raise money and go, hey, we're going to build a blockchain. It's going to be better than the freaking companies that have done it for 8 years. Like, are you kidding me? Right? Like, let's focus on the layer 2. They've got $30 billion worth of staking right now on Cardano. That is 2.5 times what's on Ethereum as of last week. 12.5 billion on Ethereum, 30 billion voluntarily staked. And the reason why they're staked is because people believe in the infrastructure, but there's nothing to do on it yet.
Yep.
So the second thing that we liked about Cardano is self-executing native smart contracts. So forget ERC 721, all that. As many people know, and Alonzo, when that fork happens in September, that's going to enable things that are going to allow us to do things like remunerate royalties on NFTs, or pay commissions on sales, or in-game activity that is yield farming. We can do those things through smart contracts that natively self-execute. So our operating system can actually provide not only efficient remuneration to the people in these different peer-to-peer communities that are building on top of it and bringing network effects to it, but those two things are what Cardano, we believe, and we believe for right now, had the ability to be best at. And it also gave us a chance to be one of the first major commercial use cases on top of a $50 billion or $60 billion infrastructure, which gives us strategic advantages as well, because we stand out.
Yes.
Right. So from a standpoint, it's like we're not going up throwing spaghetti against the wall as another thing on Ethereum, where the gas fees could be 3x one day and then and even though they're going to solve that, I believe, over time, the reality is it wasn't built for what we're trying to do.
Right.
And so we had to wait. Like, we couldn't have done this business a year ago or 2 years ago. We've been working with Cardano and looking at things for over 3.5 years. Timing's everything. And so a lot of this is serendipitous. It's relationships that have been in development. It's technologies that have been in development for decades or more. And it's just timing. And then it's being able to put those pieces together. And then, excitingly enough, find relationships like you and your group, where we know that when it comes time to actually tell people what we're doing and where they can go get it, that we can move significant volume through channels like yourself, and bring human beings, not just users, human beings, onto a platform where they can be human beings and leverage technology versus be leveraged by it.
I love it. And I'm a huge advocate of Cardano. Charles Hoskinson is a genius. He's brilliant. It's one of the top 3 strongest teams in the entire history of the blockchain space. Phenomenal what they've done, and they've executed. And so that really grabbed my attention. And when you told me about the agreements that you have with them, the positioning that you have with them, being in front of such a powerful, not just blockchain, but community, one of the strongest communities in the entire blockchain industry, in the crypto industry, is the people that are holding ADA, that are behind the project in the world. In the market. Yeah, without a doubt. And you're right, the use cases haven't hit yet. We have 2 projects that I'm really excited about. Yours, and we have another project. It's a financial project that's actually doing the same disruptive type of approach, but on the Solana blockchain. Nothing to do with.
It's another great. And listen, we're looking at Solana for different things.
Yeah,
we're looking we've got conversations.
Cardano and Solana, I believe, are the 2.
Yeah, we're looking at.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. You got me excited.
I love it.
There's things we're looking at on inside of the ecosystem. There's things we're looking at that Solana plays a very strategic role in. Polkadot's another one. Polkadot's another one. Being vetted right now, and down the road with a lot of things that we might be doing in the rewards stack of what we're doing inside of the network. So think like, instead of Sky Miles, but like the rewards program. And and so, like I said, there's aspects of each chain. There's aspects to how metadata for everything from NFTs to identities is persistently stored that don't really work well, even on the most weapon-grade proof-of-stake blockchain like Cardano. So proof of work as a redundancy. Think Dewey Decimal System to the the global library system, right? Like Dewey Decimal System is a way to know that whether I'm in Bulgaria or whether I'm in Dubai or whether I'm in here, if I'm looking for Moby Dick, I can find it. So where does Moby Dick exist? None of those places in every one of those places, right? And in the blockchain space, and especially in the mobile operating space, what people don't realize now is they don't own an NFT, they own a link, right? That's a problem. Like imagine you didn't own a house for $1 million, you owned a link to where that house may be someday, but it could move, yeah. Right? Like, and so, where we're at, where we're heading is so exciting because all this fervor that has happened about NFTs and all this stuff is right, but the connective tissue is not built yet. Now, it is being built by great companies, and ultimately those great companies will be in our ecosystem because they'll need an operating system where the users can, just like they can with iOS right now or other things, find the app relevant to their use case and deploy it.
Absolutely.
But the operating system has to know that that's necessary. It has to be built with that in mind. It has to be architected from the ground up. And that's what we've done is we've thought about these things in advance, because if you bought a bar of gold from me today and that's an asset, we can all agree that that's an asset. And I say, Jeremy, how'd you like to store that right now in my secure vault over here in Pennsylvania under the ground, 50 layers, because you bought it, and until you figure out where you better store it, I can store it for you for X% a month, right? And you're like, done, fine, do it, right? But it's your bar of gold. It's just stored somewhere that is weapons grade and safe. Well, what happens if you figure that stuff out because you become a gold guy? And a year from now, you want to move it to where you are in Dubai because you find a better situation for that gold. With gold, you can do that. Try doing that with an NFT today.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a problem that people aren't aware of. It's just a reality that doesn't yet exist. So if you tried to move something out of wherever you bought it, MetaMask to somewhere else, it's not going to work. But what if Solana or Polkadot or Cardano or somebody we haven't even heard of yet is a better solution 3 years from now? Right. If it's your asset, shouldn't you be able to dictate where that asset is held? And we think you should. So that's the operating system. That's the ecosystem we're talking about. Those are the things we're trying to enable, is true freedom to choose.
Yes.
When you're private, when you're not, where you share your data and when you can monetize it and at what value, or not at all, if that's your choice. We're not here to tell you not to be on TikTok or to be super conservative. That's not our decision any more than what religion you choose or what team you root for is our decision.
Yep.
You should have the freedom to choose. Your technology should enable that choice. And right now it doesn't. And that's the operating system that we envision and that we're building.
I love it. Beautiful. I mean, you just summed it up perfectly. You're enabling an operating system that gives people the freedom of choice. And that's what decentralization, that's the energy and the heart of decentralization. And I love it. And then all of the infinite technology implications of that, right? The use cases and the value adds, and and the list goes on. And we're going to really, we're excited to back this project. I know we're not going to disclose details on this interview, but at the right
there's
time,
a lot more coming. They'll hear more.
It's
so hard to be in stealth. I probably already said 2 things that my team's going to be mad at me for. But I'm pretty good at again. I think we're excited about the relationship. We got some more of this coming, and we will be keeping DAISY and all of you very, 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 very in the know of before things are coming, when they're coming, all that stuff for obvious reasons. But without it being vague, there's been years and plenty of 20-hour days, to get to this point. And I'm soaking up two days tomorrow at a theme park and a couple calls at 4 a.m. and at 10 p.m. in between just to get ready. But we've got some things that will be coming out public very, very quietly, but in your you'll be in the know over the next couple of weeks. And then coming into January, there'll be a lot of global stuff that'll be happening where we're very public about it. So you guys are in the first to know 4 seat because of what you've established there with your group, and we're honored to kind of lock arms with you, and our team's excited to figure out how to empower you guys to be those first couple 100,000 raving fan user referrer, promoter, partner, just evangelizers, whatever the right relationship ends up being.
Oh yeah, we're excited. We're excited to be a part of crowdfunding, the technology behind this, the operating system. We're excited about the tokenomics that you're putting together inside of the App Store and the future of that and where that's going to go.
Man, I'll tell you what, dude, I went through that the other day with somebody, and I almost quit what I was doing and tried to become just a fan. You know, I was like, it was that good.
It's a game changer. It's a game changer, right? I mean, we've seen what app stores can do, and when you start putting together, pay to play, right, on gaming, you start putting together, DeFi wallets that have AI algorithms built into it that are constantly placing your funds into the highest yield returns. When you start talking about a hardware phone that can actually be a node and be earning, your hardware can be earning you tokens. I mean, the game just changes, right?
And think about, oh God, we could go. So I'll leave a little bit of this because you're getting me excited, and I want to give you guys a little bit of this. So if you guys Google Axie Infinity, if you haven't heard of that, right, that's a use case that has nothing to do with us, but it's exactly where the world needs to go and where it will go.
Yes.
Right. And during COVID, in the middle of Indonesia, in places where people were not technical, like they were not like looking for the next thing out of Silicon Valley there.
Right.
There was 40% unemployment almost overnight when COVID hit and the lockdowns hit. Right. 40% in a country. And I may have some fireworks going off behind me. So that's all on purpose. I'm doing that for effect. But they had 40% hit. And so people desperately just figured out, how am I going to eat, right? And there was a game called Axie Infinity. And what it had been, it was like, think pets, like they groom each other and you can breed them and whatever. Well, they were NFTs and it was this little thing. It had nothing to do with the Indonesian market, but they got discovered there. Well, they became rapidly too expensive for people to consume. So a guy started a thing called Yield Guild. And he started allowing people that own these things to like put them into a place where people that were playing and using them and breeding and taking care of them. So think about taking care of digital pets, just like if I had goats and you fed them every day, right? And they started earning money. Well, literally in a matter of months, the full-time equivalent took the impact of that down by like half in a couple of months. And people were earning a full-time equivalent playing a video game on an Android phone that wasn't even optimized for it, simply because somebody had figured out how to yield farm NFTs. And most people don't know what yield farm or NFT or even anything means.
Yep.
It's a fascinating story. So imagine an operating system, us, and a device ecosystem, which includes not only phones or whatever else, but anything that runs that operating system, that was built from the ground up to inspire and enable play to earn.
Yes.
And that's an economy that hasn't even started yet. Direct to avatar sales is the next direct to consumer. It's dwarfing direct to consumer. There was $66 billion worth of direct to avatar sales. That's where a virtual thing buys a virtual thing for itself.
Yes.
Right? Like think you bought a skin of sneakers for your avatar in Fortnite, right? That's direct to avatar. It's stuff that people haven't even thought of yet, and it's $66 billion industry last year.
Wait until peer-to-peer hits the avatar world. Wait until your avatar refers another avatar, right, to buy a thing, right?
Well, and so so part of the technology stack that we've already got, deals that we'll be announcing soon. There's a company that's doing a $10 billion IPO this month. They just announced it last week. It has about 60 brands, most of which you would know and shop with on a daily basis, fashion brands, legacy brands, things like that. We're partnering with them on a whole NFT exclusive thing. So literally what will happen is inside of our user base, not only will you have devices, you'll also get premier access to promote and consume, or to consume first and then promote and earn, like film drops and fashion shows that are happening in the metaverse. And every single one of those things will be commissioned. And every single one of those things will be peer-to-peer economies going to work, and then discovering artists out of that situation. Imagine what it looks like when a kid's not just platformed on YouTube, hoping they don't deplatform because he says or does the wrong thing and only living off ad revenue. What if those 5 million subscribers or 300,000 subscribers are in business with him or her? And what if they're able to create their own merch and do all that and deploy it through an ecosystem that was built and designed for that very thing? Like when you think about those kind of economies that get unlocked, you can be part of that with us. And we're just here trying to make sure that the rails are greased and ready to go.
So we watched the sun go down before our very eyes behind you tonight. And here I am in Dubai, and I just thought it was kind of cool. I'm going to show you the
coming
sun.
up.
the sun coming up here over the Burj
My
Khalifa.
my wife's saying good night to me, so that's a good one.
I love it.
That's why I look to the right.
Let's close with one question. In fact, I'm going to stand out here because I like to show the Burj Khalifa.
Man, I
as an
love
example.
Dubai too. And by the way, just so you know, I know you know this, but just so everybody listening to this knows, February 28th to March 3rd in Dubai. Just be there. That's all I gotta say. Just make sure you're in town. Jeremy and I will talk to you about more of that later. But
And
February 28th to March 3rd. Make sure you have that blocked off and that you will be in Dubai.
It's going to be epic. And we're having an event. We're having our first global event in January in Dubai too. So we would love to have you come. And of course, by that time, we'll have already, and just so everybody knows, we're looking at, the next couple of months, taking the first step forward with this project in DAISY. And the last 4 weeks, I've done a few webinars where I talked about the Burj Khalifa and how deep, the tallest building in the world, how deep they had to build the foundation, right? How deep they had to go in the ground. And, just as an example of leadership and life, right? Planting our roots deep. But I would love to maybe close out with this question because it's an honor for us, right? There's a lot of different places that you can go, the traditional route, VCs, et cetera, but you're embracing this peer-to-peer crowd model that we have for some of the highest level technology components that you're putting together in the blockchain world with DAISY. So I think it'd be great to share with our community who's going to be watching this, what is it about DAISY and about the DAISY community and what we've done as a community that attracted you to say, hey, this is powerful, there's an alignment here, let's give this community an opportunity to be a part of crowdsourcing and getting behind promoting this project.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. There is no shortage of places that this idea could have raised money or could think about how it wants to bring money into its ecosystem. And, without it sounding unintentionally a certain way, the reality is money's an important piece of the equation. You have to have fuel, especially when you're likely to unlock a couple $100 million in revenue in the first several months of a start. I've been in business for 22 years. I've been an entrepreneur in all kinds of things. I can tell you I've never had something that scared me and delighted me at the same time. And why I say that is because the fiduciary responsibility we have at the C-suite here is to understand that balance of launching something in a way where it's like Falcon X or like SpaceX, right? Like you want to make sure that when you launch it, you can reuse the capsule, right? And so you're going to get that, so we've gone through lots and lots and lots of rigor around that. And the capital piece is part of that because it's got to be strategic, right? So back to the DAISY question. So I can't tell you, and I will in the future, but I can't tell you tonight who some of the early other people that we let into the cap table or that were on the cap table were, because we have planned announcements around that will matter to them and to us. So I don't want to spoil that, but just understand that everybody that has any capital into this point, including outside of the founding team, was brought in not just because they could write a check, but because of what they also could bring into the network effects, what that might be, whether it was government relationships, whether it was whatever it was. Where DAISY fits in that, I think, is probably one of the most exciting things. And the reason is because I don't know what it's at today, Jeremy, you can tell me, but I know you guys have somewhere around 140, maybe 150,000 people in the community, something like that. But the way I think about you guys is essentially a decentralized venture fund. So again, very transparent, very candid. What's interesting to us is when we do this, launchpad token offering with you in a private token round, it's basically one check. Like we're basically getting DAISY on the issuance. It's a private round. It's specifically built for you guys before the public offering. And so from the mechanics of it, from a compliance standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint for us, there's this really interesting situation where if you were my friend Tim Draper's founder, if you were something else, right? Like it's similar, right? The difference is what even Draper doesn't bring, and I loved him, and he's very strategic for other reasons in some things that we're doing down the road probably. But the reality is he doesn't have 140,000 people that are going to also, that are LPs,
right?
That are going to also be part of us educating why this matters. So I think you guys have a unique platform, not just for us, but for anybody that is trying to before the cement on the next 100 years is dry, who's really trying to give humanity a chance to kind of have a little bit more better than the last, than the last 100, that you guys bring something unique to the table, because not only can you bring a massive amount of potential capital into a worthy deal, but you bring your engagement, you bring your knowledge, you bring your activation, and that just doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, don't get me wrong, it exists, but it exists in like smaller increments that, wouldn't necessarily be worth the time for the actual exchange. So I think you guys have done a hell of a job innovating how venture capital could look in the future. It's not going to change venture capital in the upper stack, but in the early stage stack, seed to Series A, I think you guys are fundamentally changing how venture capital or angel investing could be done, because you've already proven it. And I think with a couple more use cases, people are going to go, yeah, why not do it that way? Like it becomes just a better win-win all the way around. So, I mean, again, not to put pressure on anybody that doesn't want pressure. I think that's what's interesting to us is we see it as one with 150,000, nodes that are going to grow.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like we're establishing a community together where we have to service the DAISY community for what it needs. But your value add to us is a feedback loop, an evangelization loop, an educational loop, understanding our brand, our guide, like the things that we're trying to do, what we're not doing, what we are doing. And that just doesn't exist in capital, not at the level that we're talking about what this thing's going to drive. So
Absolutely. I love it. And with the DCO platform, that's really what we've done is we decentralized that entire model. We've even added, for example, yield boosters, right? So typical launch pads have yields, right? You stake, you earn yields. But we've created this whole idea of boosting your yields based on engagement, based on project engagement, right? So when we take on and partner with a project like yours, the yields that members earn by staking even the DAISY token or your token increase based upon their social engagement, based upon their feedback, based upon their participation. So they're not just putting capital in the game, they're putting social capital in the game. They're putting passion in the game. They're putting feedback in the game, right? It's this whole thing. So I really felt proud hearing you say that back to us. And this is really our message to our community.
Well, and I think you should. And I, again, I'll tell you what got us comfortable with the relationship from our standpoint is this is not a projection on anybody else and how they should do business. This is just, me and my two founders and our executive team, like, this is not something that there's a weird timeline that exists in my brain. I don't want it to sound esoteric. So I'll just say, look, this is a marathon run in daily sprints. And that's how we think about what we're doing at SDK and what we're doing in general with this project. And why that matters is because we have very meaningful and explosive short-term metrics that we are going to hit and that we need to drive that you're going to be part of. At the same time, we will never sacrifice the long game for that
short game.
And here's the reason why. It's super simple. It has nothing to do with me. It's not because I'm a great guy. I believe I'm a great guy. I believe I'm surrounded by great people. We've kind of built this team from scratch because we could, and we stole people from companies that are amazing companies because we've all kind of gotten to a certain level where now we want to do it with the people we really want to do it with, and we want to go on a run that matters, right? That is a legacy play for humanity. And look, we may or may not make a dent. I have no idea. I don't get up in bed with any delusions of grandeur. I'm a simple guy. I came from a simple upbringing. I just love to play the game. But what I do know is that if we don't try, I will die miserable because I will know I didn't. Yeah. And why it matters to try is because there's 6 companies in America and 3 in China that own 95% of all the AI algorithms that exist and the best technology. And those 6 companies here and those 3 there are competing on 2 fronts: consumerism, which is not wrong. I'm just saying it's the low-hanging fruit. Like, let's go weaponize consumerism, which is why your Google Maps knows where you want to go before you go there and serves you up an ad before you get there, right? And geopolitical warfare, which is scary and dangerous, and I don't understand it fully, but I know I don't want to be part of it if I can avoid it. Now, those 2 things don't really serve 7.8 billion people on the planet, right? They battle for control over that, and they battle for money. But they don't really serve. And the reality is at some point that AI is going to be smarter than us. And it ain't going to be 50 years from now. It's going to be in a decade. And when that happens, it's not only going to be smarter than us, within a matter of a year, it'll be smarter than all of us. Because that's how exponential works. Once it gets smart as one of us, it only takes a year to 2 years to get smart as all 8 billion of us. And once it does that, we're house pets. And there's no stopping that trajectory. So I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm saying that's going to happen regardless. How good would it feel to know that one of our other things we didn't talk about, we'll talk about it in the future, is one of the other blockchains we're super proud of is Ben Gertzel's group over at SingularityNet.
Yeah.
You may have heard of AGI and all that. So they're deep partners with us. We're launching some things around voice intelligent assistance and some other things that'll literally blow your mind when we get to that inside the operating system. And they've partnered with us to do that, to commercialize that. And the reason why we partner with them is they're the only ones who have anything that could hold a candle to Google or Microsoft or these AI companies I told you about. And they're fully decentralized libraries, fully open source, meaning anybody can use them and you can program them. So by us getting to scale at any level, a couple million users, 10 million users over the next couple of years, we think at least we can provide an option for when that happens, that inevitability happens, an option for people who still want to be human and want to control some of them. And if we do that, then hey, you know what? We served our fellow man and woman. We didn't play small because we knew we had the chance, and we didn't back away and go just do something that makes money and makes us comfortable, live on an island and put our head in the sand. And it scares the hell out of me in some ways because it's far bigger than anything I ever wanted to be on top of or responsible for. And at the same time, I feel super calm about it because I got a 9-year-old going on 10, and our partners have, and I just go, you know what? Like, yeah, why not us? Why not us try? And so when we say we want to, do something with you guys, it's based on us getting comfortable with Jeremy, your vision, your commitment, and the fact that you're playing long ball, right? And I witnessed that. I saw the thing break from afar. And then I saw 75 days and I went, oh, this is going to be one to watch, right? And I'm like waiting for the, for the bad news. And sorry, a Harley just went by. I don't want to miss that because this is important, and then we met after that fact, right? After the success. But when I really understood what you guys all had to do, after it didn't go as planned in the beginning, it went great, but it almost went too great, right? And then all of a sudden there was problems, and then you had to go fix those problems. That to me was a big thing because that's how we will roll.
Yep.
And so I think we're symbiotic that way. I believe that, and that's why we're excited to kind of over the next couple of months take this journey together and be part of what you're doing.
Well, we are, and that's the community, and that's I guess this is where we can close on this. And when I said earlier, I feel really proud. That's why I feel so proud of what this community has done, because it very rarely can you go through something like that where you have a false start, a 4-day pre-launch, and then shut down for 75 days and come back even stronger, right? And now launching a decentralized platform and coming back even stronger again. That's a community deal. That means there's 150,000 people that really believe in the vision of a decentralized, a more decentralized world where it matters. And because of that, because of this community, we're able to attract and partner with and be a part of these revolutionary projects. Our motto at DAISY has always been, and my motto in life has always been, we're born to do what has never been done before. Every one of us, right? We're born to do what has never been done before. And that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. And here's where we don't have to be afraid of that. We don't have to be afraid of that when we understand it doesn't rest on our shoulders. It rests on our shoulders. It doesn't rest on my shoulders. It rests on our shoulders. And it's this collective genius, it's this community effort that says amongst all of us and all of our ideas and all of our strengths and all of our little fingerprints, collectively this mosaic becomes the thing, right? And that's what I love about decentralization is it doesn't rest on a centralized shoulder. It doesn't rest on a founder's shoulder or a CEO's shoulder, or it ultimately, when it becomes decentralized, it now stands on the shoulders of the masses, of whoever wants to carry it on their shoulders. And that's what community is all about. So we're excited to take this project on our shoulders with you and help bring it to the world. I believe it's brilliant.
Well, we're excited to see what you do with it, because we know that we have something special and something endless in the sense of what it unlocks. And we also know that you're probably one of the rarest organizations in the world as far as a community that can activate things. And so, what you did with your first couple, and we think I just think it's going to be interesting to watch. It's really going to be fun to watch, because I think you're taking Super Bowl team and you're taking a Super Bowl caliber technology and platform and team, and you're putting those two things together, and you're meeting a market where it's starved. And I just, I've just never seen a market so starved for something new and real that puts them back in the driver's seat. And your ability to communicate it, our ability to deliver that, I think is going to be interesting one to watch. I look forward to looking back on this video.
If we want to reach the world, what better place to do it than a mobile phone anyhow? I mean seriously, right? If you just want to become relevant
until we do have a identity controlled chip in our head, which we will have. But right? at least with our ID, you'll be the one in control of it. So
I love it. Chris, I appreciate you for being you. I'm so thankful that you flew in months ago, and now multiple times we've met face to face, and every time I'm around you, I think bigger. I have to go Google things that I don't know because of your level of intelligence, and you make me a better thinker in person. So thank you, man. And
I love that the sun is up and the sun is down, because as you earlier alluded to, it never sets on opportunity, and it also never sets on the need for us, those who have any inkling of what's right or what's righter, what we can do about it, and a passion to be a part of that. That sun never sets, and it can't. It really can't, guys. It can't. And so I acknowledge all of you for tuning into this, because I know it went longer than we intended, and that's normal. So
I love it.
Chris, I'll look forward to the next one, my friend. Thanks.
All right, talk soon.